Everybody, thank you for coming. It's my privilege and honor to be able to introduce my dad this morning. He has served this city well for 2 decades, and I know his heart is in the right place as he sets his goal to be our next mayor. Without further ado, John Crawford.
Thank you, Grant. And Marcia's here also, my wife Marcia and Grant. And the family puts up with a lot when you run for office, and I'd like to thank them publicly. And also family and friends that have already given time and treasure to help us with our campaign, and will be asked to give more in the future. Anyway, I just first off like to thank Grant. He is the best campaign chairman ever. He also has 20 years of experience. The day he was born, I came into the room and he held his little hand up, and at first I didn't, then I realized what he wanted. He wanted to be in on the family business. And Lana, would you please show us the second slide? This is the day he was born. And so he has 20 years of experience, and he's done a great job. And it's been a lot of fun with him. And so anyway, I filed at the election board today at 8:30 a.m. and now formally am a candidate for Republican nomination of Mayor of Fort Wayne. The central planks of our platform will be fiscal conservatism, public health, crime, and economic development. And I've been on council a long time, and that's already led to many savings, fiscal savings for the city of Fort Wayne. We eliminated collective bargaining for 6 public unions several years ago. That saves about $3 million a year. One single contract for street maintenance, $300,000 a year. Fleet maintenance, another several $100,000 a year. None of those reorganizations that we did would have been possible with the union work rules. So those 2 things alone, and the others that kind of trickle through the city government, save about $3 million a year. We did a pay-to-play ordinance, and that means that people don't have to give as much money to political candidates, particularly mayors, to get contracts. It leads to lower contracts, more competition, and better fairness for people that are competing for contracts. And since I've been on council, I'm sure I've done more budget cuts to mayoral budgets than any other person on council. And so when you add all those things up, you know, we've already saved a good bit of money by being on council. But we've been trying to get the mayor to bid out health care costs for probably about 6 years. Every year we say, you should bid it out, you should bid it out, you should bid it. And every year they would say, oh no, we're getting so many discounts, it's just as good. Well, they finally got around to doing it this year, and it saved several $1 million a year. Our administration would have done that earlier, and it was something that should have been done for several years. And if we become mayor, we can do a whole lot more. We begin with a zero-based budget, and what that means is line by line, we look at every expenditure, and we either make it more efficient, but even before that, we decide, should we even be doing it at all? There are many things in the city budget that we may be able to combine with county operations and consolidate departments, or maybe even eliminate some things that really perhaps are not as much value as other things that we need. A zero-based budget means first you decide your priorities, then you see how much money you got, and then you do your budget. All the years I've been on city council, we take last year's budget, add 2%. There really hasn't been a good systemic look at it for at least 20 years. The other thing that I am really passionate about is public health. My entire career has been about life and saving lives. Since I've been in Fort Wayne, I've treated 12,500 cancer patients and cured about 7,000. The smoking ordinance that we enacted about 20 years ago, every year about 50 people don't die of premature death from heart attacks, strokes, and cancer because of that ordinance. So that one ordinance has prevented premature death on about 1,000 people. The opioid crisis is our big thing now, and I really want to work on that. We can save lives by getting better treatment, and my medical background is a big advantage in that. And that ties in very quickly to the next plank, which is crime, because drug dealing, opioid abuse are driving the crime in Fort Wayne. And if we can get better treatment, get more people off of the opioids, we will have better results. In addition to that, for crime, we need more police, And actually, we need better police pay. The pay for our police officers here in Fort Wayne is low compared to other cities. So once again, if we can prioritize the budget, free up money from other things, then you can direct it to things where you really need. We need new approaches. I'm a big fan of high-tech surveillance cameras in high-crime areas. London has one camera for every 14 people. And they use camera footage to solve about 95% of their homicides in London. So some of those things will help. We're going to do a crime summit, fifth Tuesday meeting on the 29th of January to talk about crime. And the reason we kind of came up with that is it's really on people's minds right now. The triple murder on Thanksgiving, quintuple shooting, that really kind of got people's attention, and we've had many more since then. And we're on a track to we're right at the near record number of homicides in 2018. And years ago, when I first came on council, we were having a rash of murders around then as well. So we actually organized a crime summit then, and I invited Commissioner Bill Bratton, police chief, who used to be police chief under Mayor Giuliani in New York. They knocked murders there from thousands, like 3,000, down to hundreds. And when he came, he talked about some of their methods, and one of the things they were using was something called CompStat, where he used computer statistics to track crime. Since that crime summit, Fort Wayne Police have been doing that, and it has helped reduce crime. So we're hoping by getting everybody together on the 29th, hour and a half to have people present and us to talk about it, we might come up with some better ways to reduce crime in Fort Wayne, because it is on people's minds. Economic development's another big thing we want to concentrate on. A mayor's primary job is jobs. And minimum tax and minimum regulation helps create an environment where private sector can grow. And jobs these days are following people instead of people following jobs. If we have the talent here, people with the degrees of the future, companies with the jobs of the future, we will get more people to come and companies will come. And that all kind of ties into quality of place. And people these days, young people, are looking not only for a place to work, but for a place to live. I've been hiring doctors for 30 years. In the last 3 I hired, one of the first questions I ask is, what's downtown like? I might want to live there. And the next question, what's Fort Wayne's trail system like? Now, 30 years ago, no doctor asked about that. They wanted to know how much money they would make when they were going to be on call. The young people today are really looking for a place to live. And if we don't have a good place that they want to land, and they have 2 good job offers, then they won't come here. And Parkview Field was probably the hardest vote I ever took. And 65% of people were against Parkview Field when I voted for it in 2007. And I mean, actually very against, to the point where many friends and colleagues were actually mad at me that I voted for that. But in retrospect, that was the spark that really started downtown's momentum. Tom Henry in 2007 wasn't on city council. He wasn't in any office at all. He had nothing to do with the first hard decision to build Parkview Field. And that's really what turned things around. That's what began the momentum that we're enjoying now. And since then, I've been a leader in riverfront development. I've been championing that cause for several years. We spent a whole year talking to everybody in the community about it, getting support for it, and now we have funding for phases 2 and 3 of riverfront. I was an early supporter of electric works. I think that will be the next big thing, and I think we need to digest those 2 big things. There are a lot of things that we have to get done. Surprises will happen, and I think we're going to have to just kind of take it a little easy for a while and get those 2 done. Because a lot of people, when I talk to them, they like the downtown stuff, but they think it's kind of time maybe to tap the brakes a little bit on public money for projects downtown and concentrate more money on neighborhood improvements, and I agree with that. So I think we need to digest those 2 big ones, kind of get our budget reordered to bring more things into the neighborhood. The campaign, we'll talk about that. You guys may have some questions, but it will be if not one of the most vigorous campaigns in Fort Wayne's history, okay? It will be multidimensional and multimodal, okay? And we are actually trying to have a lot of fun with it. First thing we did was the campaign van, and I really enjoyed driving that thing around. And it's quite visible. If you haven't seen it, we have free vision checks for anybody who has not seen it, because I pretty much leave it in the most visible, some people would say obnoxious places I can find. It really likes being parked right outside the Citizens Square. It looks really good there. And so we're having fun with that. And our first mailer will go out this week. And our first mailer will be a scratch and sniff mailer. And that's never been done in Fort Wayne. So we're going to try to do different things like that that will keep people a little off balance and maybe make people notice things, because they're kind of like maybe positive, fun things. People were extremely turned off by all the negativity in 2018 of the recent elections. They just wanted those elections to be over. One negative after a negative after a negative forever. So we're really not going to do that very much. We're going to pretty much give people a positive campaign and tell them why they should vote for us. We're not going to tear down our opponent. And I think if we can do that, and if we are successful in winning the primary, that gives us a better chance to unify the party after the primary. And the reason I say that, for 20 years we have lost the we've lost the mayor's office. The Republican Party has not united well after the primary, and that's the main reason we've lost. We've actually had better ideas and better candidates many times, and we still lost because we didn't bring all the Republicans on board. So I think if we stick to positive messages, I think it's a whole lot easier to bring people back together after the primary. There are no perfect candidates. I've been in office a long time, and I'm one that does things. Smoking ordinance, nowadays, most people like it. Some people are still mad at me for it. Baseball stadium, 65% of people were mad at me when I voted for it. 80% like it now. But the ones that are mad at you, sometimes they never forget. Favorite expression in politics: friends come and go, and enemies accumulate. So as we go along, there'll be people that will never vote for me because of things I did. But on the other hand, most people now like the smoking ordinance, they like the baseball stadium, they like the fact that we're saving money by, doing things at city council level. So I'm hoping that the balance will be net positive. But once again, when you have a record, you'll be attacked for anything you've done, and you'll get the benefit of what you've done. So at this point, our main goal is we're going to concentrate on winning the primary. It's May the 7th. 117 days and 10 hours from now, we'll have the results. And at that point, we will either be going on or not. But either way, we're going to have fun with it. And if we win the primary, we're going to be the hardest working candidate ever to try to unify the party, because that's the only way that we can win. And I'm going to just open up for questions now. I did mostly wanted the media to come and see if they had any questions. We have said some of these themes before, but we're magnifying them. And our campaign starts today. We will start doing this today. We file today. Some of our TV ads will start today. Some of our signs will go up today, and our first mailer will get there this week. That's much earlier than in previous years, but I think it's important to run a really vigorous campaign this year. And questions?
What do you think the number one issue, one or two major issues that will surface in the primary to determine who gets that nod?
I think, they're kind of the oldies but goodies. Fiscal conservatism. Crime, I think, is going to be a big one. And I think the public health business with the opioids is actually quite on people's minds as well. And the jobs. So the four that we list they're always the ones that are important in the primary. So those are the ones we'll concentrate on. And concentrate on things that we will do to make citizens' lives better. Not just, say the other guy's not good. We're going to say what we're going to do.
You're saying you're not going to do that, but in a sense, you would probably want to highlight a couple of things that you would think would make him vulnerable. The experience factor in city government, is that something you think will make a major difference?
I, of course, think experience is a good thing. And I know when I got on city council, I don't think I was a good city councilman for 2 years. Don Schmidt, the best city councilman that ever lived, took me under his wing and taught me how to do the job well. I think it would be hard to walk right into the mayor's office. I mean, I have a lot of institutional knowledge. I know which departments are working. I know which ones are not working. I know some of the people that are excellent and should get a raise. I know some people that should be gone. So it takes a while to catch up with all that. So no, I think experience is good, but on the other hand, you know, sometimes people are looking for the new guy. So you don't know how that'll all play out, but I've found that I've learned a whole lot as a city councilman as I went along, and I think it'll help me a lot as mayor. I don't consider that a negative attack. In other words, our campaign motto is, you know, new ideas and experienced leadership. So that's just a fact. It's not something I'm going to attack the person for.
Earlier this morning, you talked about how important it is for you to sort of collaborate with the future mayor of New Haven.
Yes.
Can you sort of touch on that a little more?
Yeah, I think collaboration is huge because I don't think the present administration does that quite as well as they could. I know they don't do it with city council. And there have been previous times with Mayor of New Haven and stuff, and county commissioners, that it just hasn't been done as well as it could. In other words, I would meet at least once a month with the city council president and any other council members that would want to be at that meeting, meet with county commissioners at least once a month, and anybody else that wanted to meet. And anytime something big was coming up, I mean, if it was like, for example, we were voting on riverfront funding, if I was mayor, I would have come down to council and spoke a few words. I just think that helps. So yeah, collaboration is huge, and I think it could be improved from where we are right now.
No secret, right to life will probably endorse your opponent. Is that a legitimate issue in the mayor's race, do you think, and how do you intend to counter that? You know, everybody has their own personal feelings about right to life and many other social issues. But the social issues, there's actually nothing that the mayor can do, positive or negative. And the same thing, since I've been on city council, I've never taken a position on that issue. Once again, I have my own feelings about it, and I would probably agree with many of the ideas they have, but maybe not all. But I don't like to get into a divisive issue if there's nothing I can do about it. If I take a position on that, either side, if I get through the primary, and then I get to the fall election, then I've got people that are mad at me because I took whatever position I took. And since I can't do anything about it one way or the other, I will simply not address that issue. And they brought up an issue about South Bend. The Right to Life group wanted to start an office very near Planned Parenthood, I believe. So the South Bend mayor vetoed the rezoning request, and they asked, well, what would I do? Well, I wouldn't veto the rezoning request. That's a question of free speech, and as long as they're doing something lawful, to me that was not an issue of right to life. I can't think of a right to life issue one that's never come up on city council in 20 years. I am aware of nothing that the Fort Wayne mayor has ever done in 20 years about that issue one way or another. So I have my own views about it, but basically, I am not going to make those public. Any other questions? All right, well, thanks for coming, everybody. Thank you.